Well, welcome everyone. I'm Justin Carpenter,
And I am Jenna McClelland.
and today we're going to be talking about dating and how the modern society loves to condition us into a way of inverting our true nature, inverting our ability to connect with each other. And we don't have to look very far than the practices that we see when we look at dating. All these apps, all these swipings, all these profiles, all these ways that people are sampling, engaging with many partners all the time. And this is viewed as just a very normal thing. This is viewed as just something that's just what everybody does. And if you don't do it, then you're doing something wrong. So as we know and talk about, typically everything that comes from society is an inversion of sorts, and this is no different. So when we talk about sampling, how would you say, Jenna, this sampling is so harmful to our psyche and our ability to connect with each other?
Yeah, first I want to talk about just the idea of sampling first, right? Create a little bit of a foundation. We go to the clothing store and we try on different dresses and we try on different sweaters. Or we go to a buffet, a breakfast, brunch buffet, or a Chinese buffet, whatever buffet you like to indulge in. And you're sampling all the food, or even at the ice cream store. We've been going to the ice cream store lately and everyone's sampling everything. But then you can think about what would the consequences be when we look at it of sampling a human being, right? An energy, a soul, and somebody's body as an interview of some sort to go in and try it on to see if it works for you or not. This is the toxic distortion of feeling as if we have to go all in or balls deep with an individual in order for us to really know whether or not they're the ones that are going to be for us. Now, if we're taking on this behavior, this excessiveness, kind of like how we overeat and we overconsume and we're overconsuming sex or overconsuming people, right? There's going to be a distortion that's going to come into play. And specifically with another human, with another auric field and frequency, they may have something going on that you don't even know. And wham, you can take on their frequency and they can distort your energy fields. They can distort your physicality. They can distort different areas within your body that are actually going to separate you and put you further away from aligning with your divine selection.
Yeah, very well said.
Thanks.
And I know a lot of what you talk about, and I love this concept of the matrix man and the matrix woman. So these are the ways that society conditions us into wanting these things, especially outside of ourselves. Oh, if I have this, then I'll be happy. If I have this, then I'll be fulfilled. And relationships are no different. So without going too much into detail about these, could you give us a little bit about what is the matrix man and matrix woman, and how does this conditioning give us this sort of false reality when it comes to relationships?
Yeah, totally. So there is absolutely no shame and judgment in the way that I will be describing the Matrix man and the Matrix woman. I've been the Matrix woman. I was the Matrix woman for the majority of my life up until a couple of years ago when I really had my awakening and started to enlighten. And the Matrix woman, I'll start with the woman from my own experience, is we are conditioned to actually be the hunters. We utilize our body, we utilize our clothing and the way that our body looks as a almost like a way to capture, a way to catch and go hunting for a man, right? We use our physical appearance in order to capture someone to come in. But whenever we do, let's say we do, or a matrix woman captures someone to come in, she has a load of criteria. She is not going on dates. She is interviewing men to see if they were going to be able to fit her criteria on what she's been told she needs in order for a successful relationship. Number one, he needs to be able to be successful and to be able to support her. Already, by her looking for a man to support her and her to completely denounce her power in cultivating her own financial stability and her own financial success. She's just kind of given it all just to the fact that this man can support me. And what is one of the things that, let's say you have dated somebody and you're getting ready to share it with your family and you want them to meet him, one of the things that they're going to ask is, it's not, are you in love with him? It's, can he support you? And so even the distortion of the family and how the whole thing is about a man fully taking care of her, so she no longer has that sovereignty to build and establish her own self and her own highest identity in the form. So when she goes on these interviews with these men, she's just nicking it off, trying to see if this guy is going to be able to give her the life that she'd been told she has, and she's going to use her body a lot also through sex to draw him in, because he becomes her biggest asset. And you can think of like an investment. He's an asset now, right? It's about him supporting her. So it's not as bad as like, or the same thing as like a stock, if you can think about it that way. And then we have the Matrix Man. And the Matrix Man wakes up every single day chasing, proving, and seeking success and power and ways in which he needs to be a man. So every Matrix Man has a digital imprint, a digital version of what a man looks like that has been defined by society. It's continuously being defined. It's even being defined right now in a lot of movies and television that you're seeing. So it's almost like this golden carrot that this man is waking up every day trying to chase, right? I need to be able to make money. I need to be able to support her. If I can't do that, I'm not a man. I need to be able to lift 250 pounds. And if I can't, I'm not a man. If my hair is starting to fall out, or if I'm too short, I'm not a man. So it's a cortisol complete acceleration every day when he is constantly comparing himself to what it is that is a man and isn't. And every time he doesn't hit a bullet point, cortisol hits, disappointment hits, emotion hits. And as you're having those feelings water the seed, which creates neural networks in the brain. So it will start to actually psychologically impact the way in which he views himself, the way in which he loves himself, and the way in which he can actually show up for a partner, because he's so distracted by chasing this carrot. He can never fully be emotionally connected to the woman that he chooses or she chooses, however that goes, that he's with. So immediately that's going to break up the home, because you can live in a house, right? And you can be two separate beings without any intimacy and connection. But a home is when the hearts are connected. So a lot of people, a lot of ones that are matrix men and matrix women, they live in matrix homes that are empty of heart. And children suffer because of this, because a home is what helps them feel safe and what allows them to trust in the guidance in their family. So they don't go outside to teachers, outside to authorities, to seek approval, to seek attention, and to find that heart energy out there, because that's where the children can actually get in trouble with types of people who don't have the best interest of children, or they want to brainwash them into some woke or whatever more matrixy narratives that may be.
Right. So those two concepts condition both parties to reduce people to a list, a bullet point list. So what else is reduced to a list? Well, when we're buying things from a store, so
Yeah.
everything becomes a transaction. So do you have what I want? And I have these needs conditioned into me that I'm looking for this and that. Do you have that? And if you don't, if you do, either way, it's this conditioned way of inverting our ability to see each other for what it truly is, that to move away from the connection and more just, how can I get use out of you?
Yeah.
What can I benefit from that? And not even me, but my ego, my conditioned version of self. So it's really quite an inversion in that sort of sense. Psychologically, we can see that. But there are also other inversions in play. And these come from, I know you talk a lot about circumcision. We can talk about birth control. We can talk about other forms of chemical injections and things that are used to sort of physically alter our ability to connect in many ways. So are there other layers within that that you'd like to speak about?
Yeah, so we have the metaphysical experience and then we have the physical experience. So then the metaphysical distortion is the frequencies that end up going haywire, or are lowering or decreasing to a range where it puts you out of alignment with your actual purpose and calling, and it puts you out of alignment with your divine selection. And so the consequences that come out of that is what the metaphysical is. the overall experience, the emotion, the connectivity, the ability to connect with something higher than you, knowing that there's a purpose, knowing that there's meaning to your life, right? And so that is the energetic distortion that's being placed by these modern dating apps and sampling other humans through intimacy and sex. But then you have the physical distortion, like Justin just said. It's the circumcision, because the foreskin itself has receptors and hormones, pheromones, that actually a woman can sense. So whenever they are together, the foreskin will secrete the pheromones so she knows who her match is and not. And think about how many divorces we have currently. We also have birth control as another large culprit, because I was even a victim to this. I was on birth control for about 10 to 11 years, long story. And when I got off, a month, I was like telling Justin, like it was like 2 or 4 weeks later, immediately, wham, like totally not attracted to this guy at all whatsoever. And I saw the difference, because women on birth control, they have another hormonal distortion happening and an imbalance. And that deters her away from deeply connecting from a intuitive and from a somatic understanding of who her partner is going to be and what the right match is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And on top of that, the number of injections that were placed under, those are purposefully inverted. So the
totally.
hormones that are given to each, whether it's a little boy or a little girl, they're inverted on purpose to further delineate and take us away from our true nature and who we are.
Yeah.
So the further away we get from our core essence, the more dependent we become on society and everything in the external, which really comes to the fundamental reason why this mess begins with in the first place, which is the satanic inversion. So do you want to speak a little bit about how this satanic inversion exists? What does that mean when I say the satanic inversion, and how do we shift back to a reality that's not inverted?
Yeah. So thank you for asking. Such a great question. So Satanism, although it sounds really intense, it's just what the opposite of nature. If nature is going one way, Satanism distorts it and flips it. So for example, one of a toxic and bad seed that we can plant in relationships is when you actually do a deep inventory and take radical honesty with yourself, because some people will choose relationships because they know it's going to get them something, right? So it's like the Satanist way is matter first, and then energy, and then feeling. I'm going to choose her because she's beautiful. And when I have her, she's going to make me look good in society. Or I want him, by the way, I want him because he's going to take care of me. Therefore, I will feel secure. I will feel safe, right? I want money, and that money, the matter, is going to make me feel safe and secure. When in reality, it's understanding the God's way. That energy precedes matter. That is like, I feel safe, therefore money, abundance, and all the things that I deeply desire are going to come to me, because there's no need, there's no want. It's trusting and understanding that I already feel this. One of the things that we did when we were going through, I guess I don't want to say like pre-rehearsal, but when we were coaching with Alan and going through the engagement period of new practices and how to really deeply develop more chemistry with one another, we were asked to look like, was there a bad seed implanted into the relationship where one of you felt that the other was going to be giving you something? It's a very subtle, it's a very deep, it can even be subconscious grasping of somebody, because if that seed is there, the relationship is not going to work. Like, it could even take 10 years, it could take maybe 5 years, it could take 20 years. It's going to catch up to you. And that relationship is not going to be the type of exuberating, happy, loving relationship that we all desire, because why? At the root exists a bad seed.
Right. Yeah, the inversion is simply society conditions with the outside in approach. Everything in the outside has to happen first in order for me to be internally okay. The flipping back to our true nature, how we were designed, is the inside out. I established this first. I established this foundation first. And from a Christ perspective, this is building your house on the solid rock. If I build it from the outside, and that's supposed to make me happy, I'm building my house on the sand. That's going to blow away at the first storm. It's unstable. But if I build that foundation on the solid rock on the inside, knowing that I'm the projector, I'm the master of this reality, then everything else becomes stable. Everything else follows suit. But society, of course, wants to condition us the other way, because how do you create a perfect slave? How do you create someone that always needs something externally? Well, you condition them, you beat it into them, you traumatize them from the very beginning, you cut it out of them. Any which way, we're going to be conditioned into this inverted reality, because otherwise the controllers have no ability to control.
Yeah.
And they have to fight tooth and nail to keep this, it's very simple, very profound truth from coming back out, that we are the ones we're looking for. As soon as we realize that this truth exists within me, then everything else in the external follows suit. So it's a simple way of seeing this, but especially when it comes to relationships and our connections and building these solid foundations, that builds a family, that builds the foundation for how a true godly society can exist. If that very core is disrupted, if our ability to connect with each other is so distorted, then of course everything else is going to be easy to control and manipulate.
Totally. And well, I wanna add in just real quick
Of course.
is how do we even get to the God space? How do we even get to that divine energy? It's from our heart. And we spoke about this in our first episode when we were talking about it was always going back to the heart. So if there's any ever in confusion that you have, the God space is right here. And that's how we operate. That's how we make decisions. That's where we connect. That's where we speak from. Because what the minds cannot remember, a heart already knows, right? And so just a quick tip, like I'll know if I'm more like in my mind, if I'm drained, I'm tired, things don't seem to be going as well. And as soon as I enter my heart, the God space, pure awareness, I have that availability to deeply ground, to calm myself down, and just to feel like I can align. Because another thing that the matrix says is it's pro versus con, or it's negative versus positive, but there are more energies than being against something and being for something. And that's either toxic thought or feeling or energies, or divine thought, feelings, or energies. So, how do we get to the divine? Well, we go into our heart. We align with that. We turn the other way. We don't want to fight with this system. We don't really even want to put any energy into it anymore, because we're going to follow our hearts into a deeper space of connecting to a knowing and just leave it behind, because these two energies are what's keeping us fighting and keeping us stuck in the matrix. So, to elevate and to evolve into being able to cultivate that self love and then invite that from that God space to where all of a sudden you can telepathically begin to connect to your divine selection, like that's everything. Because as soon as you come together with your divine selection, you're like catapulted into a whole nother realm of, oh my God, like joy and excitement. And like we wake up in the morning, we're like, oh my God, we get like another day. And there's no expectation. There's absolutely no need, because we already feel the things that we know that we have, and we offer those to each other. And then everything just manifests for us naturally, because that's the natural, immaculate conception of what couples can create together.
Yeah. And how do you know you're in the heart? When you're here and now, because that's the only place the heart truly exists. The mind loves to take us into the past, worry about what happened, where I came from, the trauma that I've attached to, identities I've formed. The future, I'm worried about how I'm going to get there. How am I going to succeed? How am I going to have this? How can I find this in a partner and fulfill this idea, this expectation that's falsely constructed? All of that's mentally created. So come back to here now, and that's where the heart exists. So it truly brings us back to that. And that's the only way where we can truly connect with one another, or be in this space to radiate that signal to the universe that I'm ready for my divine selection to come in. Otherwise, it's just a mental construct, and will always keep us looping, always keep us in that game that we never win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know there was one layer, especially talking about breakups, and why this loop continually goes over and over and over again. When we come into and are fed this idea that we have to keep sampling, and then we go through breakups and the trauma that ensues because of that. So can we touch on that layer of the equation a little bit, and how that sort of trauma solidifies and adds to this constant chasing, and this energetic ties that we, continually have to shift and move away from.
Yeah. Yeah. So whenever we break up with somebody, there are different layers of the breakup, right? And usually for women, I know there needs to be at least three of these layers that need to be for sure, for sure. So you have the psychic layer, right? You psychically and spiritually realize and know, okay, this person is like absolutely not for me. But we kind of have to wait a minute. You know how we are. We're kind of like seeing if a little light's going to come through or wherever that potential is. And then you go into the intellectual. And intellectually, you kind of start making this decision like, wow, like things are starting to really add up on paper here. Like it's really starting to make sense. There isn't more intellectual intercourse between us. And I'm not feeling that stimulation. I'm not feeling like this person is adding value truly to my life. And then usually one of the more dense portions is going to be the emotional and emotionally having to deal with the breakup. And the issue is what women and men do this too is we usually break up with those three, right? And so think of the body as the earth. Like, why do relationships, or rather, why do we keep going back to relationships that we don't know, or that we know that aren't good for us? Like, we don't know really, right? Well, so the body has to go through the breakup as well. The body is the earth, therefore, it is the densest of them all. So you can spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually make these decisions, but the reason why people they still hold these energies in their body because of sex, right? Because women specifically, after a man penetrates her, it creates an energetic connection where he, no matter where he is on the planet, he can still extract energy from her and she can still feel it. Now, if she hasn't done the full purging of this man and really let go of the breakup on a somatic level, then let's say she got married and it's 6 years down the line, she's at the grocery store and she sees her ex-collegiate ex-fiance or something, and she goes on this crazy whim, oh my god, like why am I still having all these feelings, I'm so in love with them, and then it just goes into this another whammy of another waste of time that you already knew. It's not because that there's any disappointment or you're disappointment, there's something wrong with you. It's the body is always last, so it's allowing time and allowing space for the body to be able to move through those things. The nervous system does take a little bit of time to reprogram what it's like to be in your own space, to be alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so there are practices and ways to sort of encourage this ability to step away from these imprints, these hooks that happen when we engage with sex frivolously and we're going from partner to partner. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody or make it intimidating, but it is important to draw upon the severity of what we've been doing to ourselves and how it's just further damaging our ability to connect even further because these layers are still layered onto us without us even realizing it. So we're bringing in the next issue into the next relationship, and
Totally.
all of their baggage from the old relationships are coming along with them. And
It's
it's
like a
just,
Russian doll. You're just stacking all the shit and
right,
you're not having any space for the clearing to actually happen.
right.
So, yeah, so maybe there's a trigger happening, but it was coming from three people from behind you. But just because you were in a relationship with them for 2 weeks, like you got to really look at this idea, even if it's such a 2 week thing or a 4 month thing. And then what, 3 months later, you get into another one. It's just really timing is really close. And how can we cultivate more love, right? How can we stay in the own individual union that we cultivate within ourselves to know that this body is only for a very special, special someone, and I'm not about to put myself in a situation that's going to distort my energy because I love myself. I'm my first lover. I am my first partner, and the way that I love myself is the way that I want my man or my woman to love me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a lot of these sort of deeper practices and ways that we want to get into these things, we do want to, and we would very much want to go into it with people who are very serious about stepping further into one, loving themselves, stepping in, building that solid foundation within themselves, but also creating that containers so that their divine selection can come into the space. And so I know that we haven't quite established it yet, but I did want to mention that we are working on sort of establishing a container, a space where we can talk about these things in greater detail and actually go through some of these practices that Jen and I have gone through ourselves, and things that we've been learning that can really help facilitate and bring people to a deeper space of awareness around how these things work and how we can sort of get rid of these layers, dissolve these layers from past relationships and things that we've been holding on to, even without us knowing, because many of them are quite unconscious.
Totally.
So I'm very excited to announce that later on. This isn't something, like I said, it's not something that's quite ready yet, but stay tuned for when we have more details around this coming. It's been asked by several people of what we're developing, and so it's all just kind of coming through as it unfolds. But I'm very excited about that portion of it as well.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be so much fun. I have so much information that I just cannot wait to share. I know you do too, because you're such a little wizard. But just awesome things that you really can't find out there because we've lost the way of the mystical. We've lost the way of really coming home to who we are and how we operate from that energy first before we move into matter. So I know we did want to leave with just a couple of tips on what are some things that you can do if you want to start eradicating previous relationships or sexual partners, if you want to start to create a clean slate for yourself. And it's to just protect your sexual energy and remembering that honestly, like being celibate and holding off for this one was like amazing because the reverence that we have for one another is absolutely beyond anything I've ever expected sexually, and the chemistry is so profound and spiritual within itself. But one practice that I took very seriously, or I just enjoyed it, and I found a lot of love for myself was erotic embodiment. An erotic embodiment is how can you be with yourself? Like, sure, we have self pleasure and masturbation, different practices. And I feel like a lot of those are taught to just get off and have an orgasm and to move on. But erotic embodiment is about how can you truly feel good in your body? How can you notice the subtle spaces on your skin that are sensitive? Because we have more sentient and sensitive nerves all around the body than just the genitalia. So I would start with playing just really yummy, sexy music, and I'd put a cute, sexy silk robe on, and I would dance in my office and twirl around the kitchen. And I would finally get to a place where I would just notice how certain ways that I caressed my skin would feel and how it felt on my face. And I would just slowly move into how can I love myself and how would I want another to show appreciation and love me in this moment and what are my likes and what are my dislikes because we can't have expectations. We have to know our body. We have to be our primary lover because how can we expect someone to love us or give us pleasure if we have absolutely no idea what that is, and we have to offer ourselves that first. And to me, you're opening neuroplasticity is being activated, so you're opening other layers within in your brain and your neural pathways to fire to create something new, to expand fully. Because if we are animals of habit and doing things over and over the same way, it's dangerous. You're not like it, you're just going to stay completely stuck. And then that's just going to get even more and more congested. So it's creativity, using your higher mental faculties to really wire. Like we have the power to heal and dissolve and to wire our neural pathways to become an erotic, happy, sexual, loving, vibrant human. Like you can do that right here, right now. Like it's so awesome. Like you are the magician and you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, fall in love with yourself. That regardless of meeting a divine selection or any of those, you are the one you're going to spend the most time with. So, what better way than to fall deeply in love with yourself? Take yourself out on a date.
What would you do? You were celibate for 5 years.
Yeah, I was celibate for 5 years, so
So
I
what
I
would
got
you do?
very comfortable going to eat by myself, going to a movie by myself, and really enjoying the process. Really like going for a walk and just enjoying being in nature and just celebrating this experience, this life that we get to live. Falling in love with my body and my mind and my soul and every layer of this experience and the magic that truly comes from it. Because if I'm not from coming from this space, then I'm always going to be looking outside of myself for something to give me that.
Yeah.
So build that foundation first. fall in love with yourself and then dissolve the needs. That's this idea that someone outside of you is going to give you that. Because you might find a quick hit of pleasure from someone who can gratify that for a small amount of time, but it is finite. It will not last. So the only way to create a long lasting, sustained reality where you're truly connecting with someone is if you've connected with yourself first.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, I love that you just said that because let's say we get into sex really fast, we have yet to create the other intimacies, which is psychological intimacy, emotional intimacy, and spiritual intimacy. So if you're getting into sex right away and afterwards you have nothing to fall back on. A lot of, especially women or me, I was not someone who could actually, I was never comfortable with one night stands. I had like one and it was awful. Again, because I had nothing to fall back on. It was, I just, oh, I just didn't like how it felt at all. So, again, because women also, we have a lot of neural pathways in our gut, and we actually hold a wire connectivity much more to men, and we get really, really, really close. So, yeah, like even sex like that could still create some exchange that's really uncomfortable and unsatisfying and really deflating and disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say in the dating reality, stop viewing people as things to be used
Yeah.
and stop viewing yourself as something to be used. Let's stop viewing things as people and things as transactional to just be used and discarded. This is how we can shift this environment and get away from this idea that this is normal or this is okay, and also be okay with the time that it may take to be okay with yourself and however long it takes to shift into the next space. But I'm really excited for those who want to come with us to stay tuned and see what we can come up with for going deeper into how we can dissolve these layers of past relationships and ourselves and get to this solid foundation in a much more efficient and foundational way. So I'm
Yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to intertwining our energies and cultivating and creating together a new world, right? A new world of dating, the divine way that's outside of this satanic distortions. That's, hey, we're not here to deal with that. We don't even want to talk about it. We're over here now. Because Rumi said, between the right doing and wrongdoing, there's a place, and that's where, and meet me there. And that's what he's speaking about. It's a world that's much more finer, where the photons are a lot more sparkly and everything is more exuberant and luxurious because we're in love
Yeah.
and we're feeling love, and it's a new world, and we can't wait. We can't wait. It
Yeah,
can't wait.
absolutely. X marks the spot. That's where the
Totally.
treasure exists,
Yeah.
the crossing point. So meet us there. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you all have a beautiful day.